Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being here first, Kathy G. And hello to Lydia Washington, Compton Cali Gal, Cookies and Cream, Tara Lovett, and a whole bunch of other people that's on the way. MLC, there we go. Okay. Let's get on with it. Now, I promised yesterday that we were going to go through some of that, whichever panel that was, but wow, I couldn't stop watching it, I tell you. And unfortunately, they say that those people are going from social media to mainstream television. Doesn't mean they're going to get a lot of viewers. Um, I think a lot of the royal coverage is down. I know there's a common belief that there's always big profits in the hate channels, and there are. They are more profitable than those of us who are supportive of Harry and Meghan. But the thing is, even they are not where they used to be. So it's a niche topic. Not everyone's interested in the royals as much as we are and pay as close attention as we do. But for those of us that are totally digging it, well, you know how that is. Um, it's uh, it's a community. It's not just Harry and Meghan. It is a community. So anyway, let's get on with it. That's just about right. I mean, compared to the rest of those people, the Sussexes are giants. You can have your Charlie Windsor, Godzilla, um, Willie and Kitty. Well, the Queen, she went to the great beyond, and then of course there's the um, the Windsors there. Not the Windsors, the Edinburghs, Edward and Sophie. Yeah, Edward and Sophie. But whatever is going on, all roads lead to Harry and Meghan. It's nothing they asked for, but it's just that they are so doggone popular. They're such an attractive couple, and they have like really good energy, and people gravitate toward it, even the haters. So, support for the monarchy is at its lowest level in 30 years. And this is coming from the Telegraph. The Telegraph is saying that it's at the lowest in 30 years. Most significant fall is among young people, with only 1 in 3 in favor of royal family. Let me make that bigger. There we go. I have to look at it on another screen. But yeah, the public support for the royal family is at its lowest level in more than 30 years of polling. And let's just say, for the sake of conversation, even if some of those people try to blame Harry and Meghan, there's only one way to stop the bleeding. Just stop talking about them. All they have to do is fill that space with stories about the left behind royals. I mean, it's just every so often you'll get someone who can get past the gauntlet of negativity against Meghan and, of course, Harry. And they'll say, well, just turn it off. Remember that guy that was on the GB News? And he was like, funny thing about this stuff is that you can just turn it off. If it offends you, don't watch it. And whoever the other people were at the desk, they tried to come up with some cock and bull story about, oh, it's just that every time well, there's one way to stop that. And I'm going to prove how easy it is to ignore the Sussexes, how easy it is to leave them to the American press, right? Let the Americans handle them. Wink, wink. Yeah, it couldn't get any worse. Let the Americans handle them. We have a long tradition of media here, of the press, of newspapers. I think I'm going to sit. Oh, I was standing at my desk, but I'm ready to take a seat. So, but yeah, that's all they have to do is just stop talking about it. If you don't give it any oxygen, strange how things seem to just fade away. But they don't have the courage to do it because they're making too much money. If you just joined us, support for monarchy at its lowest level in 30 years. Shut the front door. Okay, here we go. Oh no, I couldn't get my free access as oh, there it is. Does that one work? There we go. Okay, it says the number of British people who still want the country to be a monarchy has dropped by 11 percentage points in the past 3 years to 55%. It has dropped by 11 percentage points in the past 3 years to 55%. The figure, which reflects diminishing support for the monarchy in younger age group, is at the lowest in 33 years. Ipsos polling on the royal family. The public reported a 69% approval rating in 1993, the year after Elizabeth II had spoke of her annus horribilis. 1992, a year which I shan't look back upon with undiluted pleasure. That speech, which marked a devastating fire at Windsor Castle and the end of 3 of her children's marriages. It reached a high of 80% support at the time of the late Queen's 2012 Diamond Jubilee, after which it dropped gradually to 60% in the years before she died. Well, okay, I'm looking at this graph here. Oh, unfortunately, I'm not able to share it with you. Anyway, yeah, I am so unable to share this graph with you, but it says the monarchy still has its strengths, and King Charles and especially Prince William remain personally popular with satisfaction ratings that most politicians could only dream of. Well, most politicians actually have to stand up and be accountable. They actually work. These people, the most that they ever do is just show up and shake hands. They don't have a lot of mistakes to make. So I don't even believe comparing them to a politician is necessary because it's a whole nother level of public service. So that's ridiculous. Anyway, that is that poll. But I prefer the poll from Republic. I believe that the Ipso may be somewhat skewed in favor of the monarchy, but I trust the poll that I shared with you all um, the other day. Don't trust that one. Republic, I believe that when they are doing those polls, they do not taint the polls with their bias. I don't believe they do that. So, okay, not exactly what I was looking for, but you can see there um, how little Will and Kate actually work. They have pensioners that outpace them on a daily basis. Well, excuse me, on a monthly basis. So, yeah, I don't have to tell you how lazy they are again. I think we made that point. I just want to grab the other poll. If you just give me a second here, I think that one is better. Oh, there it is. You see there? Not 55%. Support for the monarchy, I'm sorry, support for the royals is now just 45%. 45%, not 55. That is the poll that, and again, Republic did not do this poll themselves. They had someone else do it. Republic is also responsible for dispelling that thing about the amount of tourism the monarchy brings. Well, after the research, which they paid for, you find out that that is not true, that it makes no discernible difference whether or not the monarchy is anywhere in this world, let alone in the United Kingdom. It does not have any effect on tourism. All you have to do is look across the channel at a country called the Republic of France, which is the most visited country in the world, followed by Spain and Italy. And before the person in the White House, the United States, um, yeah, France, which has no monarchs, but have a lot of the um, accoutrements from the years of monarchy. They have more tourists visit than any other country. Now, that being said, I'm going to be very fair when I say this. Who gets the most tourists, Paris or London? The truth is, both of them do. They have been tied um, for that rank for quite some time. It's not enough people to even count the difference. I've seen times when it was the United Kingdom, and I've seen times when it was Paris. I'm sorry, when it was London, and then it was Paris. So, um, right there, they're even. But when it comes to the nation as a whole, more people tend to gravitate toward the Republic of France. Now, when people ask me, which did I like better? Did I like Paris or did I like London? I cannot answer that question because they both exceeded my expectations in every way. And I loved them equally for everything that I wanted them to be. There were no like great surprises because I did a lot of research before I went, but they they both gave me what I needed. I had the experience from both that I wanted. Baron, I like the crowd polls. I'm still waiting for the missing aerial shot beneath the balcony during Trooping the Colors. Bet Charles needed his smelling salts. Oh, Camilla, it's horrible. Did you see? Did you see the aerial shot? Oh God, Camilla. Yeah, there is no aerial shot, right? And they're not going to share it with us because, well, we were having too much fun with it. We were having too much fun with it, and they are not going to allow that to ever happen again. Now, hold on a second. Okay. Um, well, how long is that video? It's 8 seconds long. Oh, wow. I wanted to share this video with you, but I totally forgot to download it. So here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to download that. And I will, which one do I want? No. Nope. Nope. Oh, okay, this one. Okay. Well, that gave me enough time to grab that video I wanted. Let's see here. Yeah, that worked. So I'm going to save that and then I'm going to share it with you just to be messy. Okay. All right. Oh, there it is right there. And that is Troop in the Colors. I want to label it so when I need it again, I can find it. Okay, got it. Okay, here we go. Thank you for your patience. Not exactly an aerial view, but my goodness, where are the people? Where are the people? It's not an aerial view, but there's also no people. Wow. Now, of course, there's always the larger congregation of people over by the palace itself. But in the other years, years ago, all of this was packed with people. And let's just say, um, actually, there's no excuse for this. I was going to say, well, maybe they're early, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Because even if they were early, there should be people there. There was a time when people camped out for this stuff. Where are the people? That just goes to show the dwindling popularity of the monarchy. So they give us this emotional support poll um, today, saying that 55% approval. However, if you look at this poll from Republic that they paid for, that I'm sure is more objective, that I'm sure is not asking leading questions, it's 45%. They were underwater after Omid Scobie's book Endgame. They were underwater. Underwater means you're under the 50%. You have dropped beneath the 50% rate level. It's like being at sea and just slipping beneath the waves. Chances are we'll never see you again. That's where they are. Not 55, 45. They were 48% when Endgame came out. Now they are even further down than they were in the fall of 2023. Because remember, first it was that all-time low of 48% approval. And then what happened? Charles and mediocre Kate Middleton, they both end up in the hospital at the same time. That's what happened. Miraculous, isn't it? And then we find out they don't have cancer, either one of them. It was a routine surgery for one and a routine surgery for the other. And then bada bang, bada boom, what do we find out? Now they both have cancer. And of course, we have our questions about Kate's illness. Charles, who is said to have been given some experimental treatment, and yet he is still out there wading into crowds as though nothing is wrong. And I must admit, he looks better now than he did in the early stages of whatever he has, because neither one of them will divulge what type of cancer that they have. They will not say. We're not privy to that information for whatever reason. So, yeah, there you have it. Below 45%. It's enough to make you invite your son and your grandchildren and your daughter in law over for tea. That's what it is. It is almost enough to make you invite your family over. You get where I'm going with this? It wasn't just something in his heart, Charles. It was highly motivated. It would be just a thing to help recover. Is that the right word? No, to help reform the image of the monarch. It would be just enough for that. Let's see, tinfoil hat on. Maybe the Charlie we are seeing is a stand in. I don't know, Sandra. How many men can you find with those childbearing hips, those ears like satellite dishes, and hands that look like a couple of packs of Swift Premium Brown and Serves? How many people can you find? I mean, that is a lot to happen all at once. That is a lot. So, mm, I'm going to say that that's Charles. And if you're wondering why his ears don't look so big, I have a theory about that. It's not that his ears are smaller, it's just that his face is caught up to him. You know what I'm saying? Now that he's got those jowls and everything, it helps to balance out his ears, right? Now we don't hardly notice him. I was wondering about that. I was like, hey, wait a minute. How come I don't see his ears anymore? That used to be the one thing that I couldn't miss. And then after much analysis, I started to put two and two together. His face is catching up to his ears. He has a lot of face now. He has so much more face. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I tell you, next time we do a hey legs, next time we do a members only, we are definitely going to go through the gossip. And you know, I got all kind of receipts to back up stuff. So at my fingertips, I got all kind of receipts where we have watched the headlines change in real time, that kind of stuff. Anyway, let me get Jowls off the screen here. Look at those jowls. And the Queen of Hepsburg. She's got that Hepsburg thing going on, doesn't she? If you know, you know. uh so anyway, it's over, you guys. It's over. Everything else is just a technicality. But at some point, I don't think there's gonna be like, you know, anything that resembles a like some violent act to overthrow those people. I don't want that for them. But the way people are struggling right now, having this one family that evolved over the years from some tribal chieftain to a modern day um, monarch, there's going to be people out there asking for real change, especially when it is established that the wealth that they have is not theirs, that those duchies, that is public property. Graham Smith said it's impossible for that to be their personal wealth. Those duchies were created as piggy banks to generate an income so neither the sovereign nor the crown prince would have to go hat in hand begging for money. It would be a scheme to generate a income for both the ruling monarch and the crown prince, the heir to the throne. That's what they were set up for. That is the whole point of the Duchy of Lancaster and the Duchy of Cornwall. It's like an ATM. It's like having access to a lot of cash. That's it. Anyone could administrate those duchies. And of course, if you know how these things go, William doesn't do anything. He has a land agent or manager or something. And same with Queen Elizabeth. She wasn't so shrewd. Somebody else was doing it. I'm not saying that they have zero input, but when you are making 23 million pounds a year, whether or not you do any work, then of course there will be times when you add your own way of doing things to a situation. But other than that, they have land agents. They don't have to do any of that stuff. Let's see. They need to quit fleecing the taxpayers. The British royal family are greedy narcissists. They keep abusing Harry and Meghan to hide all of their shortcomings. The British media projects the British royal family failings into Harry and Meghan, and the Sussexes just winning. And of course, the Sussexes are winning. And they're going to keep on winning. Yeah, once they strip them of some of their power, and once they wrestle those duchies out of their clammy hands, this is what the tourists will see. Oh, you want the tourists to see how the royals live? Well, there you go. Just go to the high street. You'll find them. Yep, just go to the high street. You'll find some people that oddly look very identical to those people. There you go. I don't think it would take long for them to get down to that level. If you took everything away that they had, it wouldn't take long before that was their future. Cussing the coppers, um, smoking whatever they're smoking, and of course, whatever substances. Yeah, that would be the future of the monarchy. And I'm here for it. I am here for it. Especially when somebody goes and gets that BBL. Yeah, when they go get that BBL, or when the one in the middle, when he goes to Turkey, when he takes that trip to Turkey. Yeah, I'd pay good money for that. mm, yep, I'm going down when you're not around. My whole world's upside down. Yes, they're going down. And I think this really sums up everything. If you want to know what sums it up, just look at Kate, bored out of her mind. And of course, that young lady who is now my hero, who is going for the gold. Yes, that young lady is going for the gold. This is like a metaphor for that institution. That's what it is. It's like a metaphor. While the monarchs are standing back on the sidelines watching, um, never mind. I don't have anything else to say. But that look on Kate's face is priceless. Yeah, and I am speaking of the one on the left. That look on her face is priceless. Now, King Charles is suddenly offering accommodations for Harry and Meghan, but security is still the problem. Is it? How is that so? Well, it says here King Charles, oh, sorry about that. King Charles is a deadbeat father and grandfather. For the royals, it is about how it looks, not how it feels. As Megan Sussex once said, now with the unconfirmed reports saying that Prince Harry and Meghan are planning to bring Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet to the United Kingdom for the first time in years, the tabloids are full of contradictory stories about Charles swooping in to save the day. But let's be clear, this is not paternal love. This is legacy management. Ain't that what I just said? He's worried about his image. Now, the Sun says Harry and Meghan will jet to the United Kingdom with their kids after King Charles offered to help cover their security arrangements. It is claimed the Home Office still granted taxpayer funded around the clock armed police protection for their trip next month. Huh. It says the Home Office has still granted taxpayer funded around the clock armed police protection for their trip next month. Okay, that's what it said. I had to read that one twice. A view of the threat level posed to the couple has been ongoing, has not led to a change in security arrangements, but the king is believed to have intervened to offer his own resources so the couple can bring their two children, Archie and Lilibet, over for the first visit in 4 years. Now, Harry, okay, legal case, but this week, the safe return for the 5-day visit was said to now be possible after changes to security arrangements. Sure, it is. Anyway, that sounds generous, but does it not? It sounds generous, does it not? Charles, the magnanimous father, finally reached out to his estranged son and his family, except there is another version of events, one that points to much less flattering pictures. The Time pushes back. The Times reported a different story entirely, with sources close to the king actively contradicting the son's narrative. So the Time is contradicting the Sun. The newspapers have contradicting stories. That's interesting. Well, according to the Times, it says the king has offered his son, the Duke of Sussex, and his family accommodations in the royal residence during his visit to the United Kingdom this summer, but has yet to receive a reply. However, sources close to Charles moved to contradict reports that the king has offered to pay for private security for his son for the visit. It comes amid a row over security for Harry, with Charles refusing to be drawn into the situation. Yeah, right. The king said he would be interested in seeing his grandkids. I don't believe it. I don't believe that. Hmm. Well, I tell you, the way these articles are, well, these messages are contradicting one another. Oh, well, you know what? Let's get to this part. Oh, let me do this first. Lex says, I am young enough to remember when the Rhoda put out that Charles was paying for Harry and Meghan's protection at Tyler Perry's because he was a good father. We know the truth. Thank you for the comment. And how about this one? Charles is paying for Meghan's clothes. Remember, they let us believe that Charles was paying for Meghan's clothes. Meghan had to call in a few favors from designers that she has known for years, not to mention the fact that she had some clothing already in her closet. So not everything she wore was brand new. But the point is, we know that Charles was not financing Meghan's wardrobe. That did not happen. That is a big lie. Anyway, thank you very much, Legs. So there's little public evidence of Charles caring for Archie or Lilibet. He has met Archie once for the baptismal photo shoot and has never met Lilibet. There is no real evidence that he has any relationship with them except for anonymous sources, and we all know how unreliable they are. Harry himself only confirmed that the Queen met her and Charles, and not Charles. Yeah, that the Queen met Lilibet, but not Charles. So, let's see. With recent reports outlined, paying for Andrew's security. Yep. But history will not be kind to King Charles. He has proven to be an unfaithful husband and a cruel parent and a terrible hypocrite. Wow. Okay, now let me get to this right here. The PR war, not a family reunion. What we are witnessing is not a genuine attempt at family reconciliation. It is a carefully coordinated PR campaign designed to control the narrative before Harry and Meghan's potential UK visit. Now, that makes a lot of sense. They're trying to wrestle control of the narrative, especially in a way that would make Charles seem as though he is being um, very generous and thoughtful. Oh, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. That's exactly what he's interested in doing. The sequence of events is telling. First, there was a snub. No word from the palace about Harry's Invictus trip. Then social media began speculation that the Sussexes might stay with the Spencer family at Althorpe, with dates conveniently closed to the public. You know what, guys? Stick a pin in that one. Remember, those dates are closed at Althorpe, which is kind of strange because the summer season, that's when they, get the tourists. So why would they be closed for 2 days? Anyway, almost immediately, the palace briefed that Charles had offered security and a royal residence to the Sussexes. When they drew scrutiny, the story was corrected. No paid security, just the residence. Mm, that is so strange. Anyway, Ben Williams' camp entered the fray, briefing that Charles was betraying his heir by making any offer at all. For months, we have been told Harry is begging for invitations. First to Balmoral, which made no geographical sense for a Birmingham event, then Sandringham. It is the same playbook used during the coronation and the Queen's funeral. Control of the narrative, isolation of the Sussexes, the paint and paint them as desperate. So let me do that again. It's the same playbook used during the coronation, and that is it was used for the coronation and the Queen's funeral. control the narrative, isolate the Sussexes, and paint them as desperate, while portraying the monarch as magnanimous in his generosity. Mm. The speed of Charles' PR response is revealing. Within hours of speculation that Harry might stay with the Spencers, palace friendly briefings suddenly floated around the royal accommodations. Given that the Sussex camp has made no official comment, there are only two plausible reasons. Either the press is building an entire storyline out of speculation, or Harry gave the required notice for security arrangements and someone immediately ran the details to the tabloids. Either way, it says far more about the palace image management than the Sussex concern. You know what? Now that makes sense. Listen, you guys, remember they said that Harry was supposed to give them, what was it, 40 days notice, 38 days notice before he travels to the UK. That is the type of security that they offered, and that they would evaluate the security on a case by case basis, when in actuality, it should be updated all the time. There should be vigorous VIP, just shy of head of state type of security for the Sussexes. There should be no question about it. There should be no hemming and hawing. They should just get robust security. That's it. But this is also creating fatigue. I'm not tired. You all are not tired. But people that casually know what's at stake, it is bound to wear them down. Not all of them, but some of them. So, yeah, all I can say is keep fighting the good fight, and do not let these people get the better of you. Do not let them get the better of you, because that is what they want. They want for people to become fatigued. Like, oh, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Well, yeah, I don't want to see that anymore. Why don't they just go away? I thought they wanted privacy. Oh, God, if I hear that again, I am going to barf. I thought they wanted their privacy. Oh, okay. So, anyway, in closing, whichever way this plays out, one hopes the tabloids and the Rota will hopefully be blocked from photographing Archie and Lily. Charles may want the children to come, and more importantly, he wants to know that he will clear 30 minutes in his schedule to meet them and pose for a photo, so that history won't record him as a terrible grandfather. But will the children actually make the trip? That seems highly debatable and remains to be seen. So, yes, um, you guys, there was a leak. There was a leak. I'm starting to believe that. Just from this article, when you hear that at a certain countdown to the July visit, that is about the time when Harry would announce his intentions, and they are supposed to evaluate his security concerns. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if they have to do an evaluation, then what if Harry rejects it? what if Harry rejects their response and only Harry goes to Invictus? I mean, after all, it is simply the countdown. It is not the actual games. So, but then, as someone said yesterday on Royal Sussex, it wouldn't make sense for the children to go to the games because everything is going to be so chaotic. And I agree. So it's either they go to the countdown or nothing at all. Yeah, I think that makes sense. That makes more sense than anything else I could think of. Let me see here. Lex says if Charles III wanted a relationship, he could have Zoomed. Yeah, there's been no mention of Zoom calls. We know that the Queen and Philip Zoomed, but we haven't heard of any such thing from, uh, Camp Wells's. Thank you so much for the super sticker. All right, I'm going to take that away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does sound just like the type of leaking and briefing that took place just before they left. Um, I'm starting to believe it because the timing of it, the timing of it, if it is still necessary for Harry to announce his intentions a month before he travels, which is something he should not have to do. And unfortunately, that is what they told him, that he must do that. And so at that point, when Harry announced that he was coming to the UK, obviously he said something to someone. I guess it's Rayback that he has to report to or whatever, or is it the Met Police? But as soon as he said that, it was off to the races. Somebody started leaking that information. I believe it now. No sooner than he requests police protection than someone leaked it. It's too convenient. It really is too convenient. Sometimes the best explanation is the simplest explanation. Yep, just that easy. I am going to allege that that's what happened. Otherwise, I don't know any other way to explain it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we got that sorted. um, and now there's a matter of the Oompa Loompa. It feels like emotional blackmail as Harry and Meghan announce return to Britain with Archie and Lilibet. Insiders reveal fears about decisions to bring children and manipulation of royals. You don't say. I Am Sage says Tom Sykes quoted emotional blackmail. Kate Mansi quoted emotional blackmail. Now, Becky Oompa Loompa English is quoting emotional blackmail. Who is the royal who is connected to all three of these vultures? I wonder. William is as stupid as he is predictable. So obviously, we are alleging that given um, Willie's connection with these three Royal Rhoda tabloid reporters, those talking points, that sounds like something you would share in a WhatsApp group or Snapchat group. That sounds like something that you would share. That's what I'm getting. I'm smelling a rat. I am smelling a rat. A big Oompa Loompa rat. Now, one thing we know for certain is that there's got to be someone who leads the Royal Rota. And anytime there is something concerning the Sussexes, when it reaches a certain level and they feel like they need to get someone credible out there to respond, the arrows always point to Rebecca English. It really does. Everything is about Rebecca English's column. And this is how she does it. Just like when Kate did not go to the Royal Ascot last year, eventually they got to Rebecca English, who warned us that Kate has her good days and bad days. And yes, this is kind of awkward because, listen, you guys, Kate did not go to the Royal Ascot last minute. Now, they did not say, they were very careful not to say she was sick. Fine. Because if she was truly under the weather, then nothing could explain the fact that her mother, Carol Middleton, still found the will to go to one of the biggest events on the social calendar. And don't think I ain't grateful, because I am. Um, but yeah, um, it's too easy. It's too easy. When the heat is turned up, they dispatch Rebecca English and they take her column, allegedly, but I'm going to allege that the rest of the rota, they use her counter top. I'm sorry, her column, should I say. They use her column as the direction. And the direction said emotional blackmail, emotional blackmail, emotional blackmail. Yep. That is what it says. And of course, when she says it, her word is gold, and then everybody else says it. I would be really interested. Of course, I don't have time to do it, but I would like to look at all of the headlines where, I'm sorry, not the headlines. Yeah, the headlines. I want to see all of the headlines where they say that they were using emotional blackmail. And then I want to see the timestamp to see whose article came out first. I don't have any evidence because I haven't researched it, but I promise you it was probably Rebecca English first, and then everybody else fell in lockstep. So, allegedly. Oh, what a twisted web we weave. When first we practice to Oompa Loompa deceive. Can't stand those Oompa Loompas. Oh, good morning, Sequoia Farms from Liberia. Hey, you guys, did you all know that I have citizenship in Liberia? That is my other home. Now, I don't have an address yet, and I don't really have any books yet. But I don't have anything. But because I am an African American, I think it's in their constitution, right? I always have a home in Liberia. So thank you, neighbor. Thank you, family. My other home. I want to get a passport, though. It'd be nice to have 2 passports. Oh, Katie Hopkins walks into an East London pub during the England match and gets booted out in 37 seconds. Oy vey, what happened? Crowd chanting, Katie, Katie. Uh-oh, I can't repeat that. But I can't repeat that. But I think you can't make out what they're saying, so I'm going to go ahead and play the video. I didn't know that's what they were saying, but anyway, I hope I'm right about that. And we'll find out. Okay, it's coming up. Why is that taking so long? Let me try this another way. Oh, am I doing that right? Okay, let me try this. Nope, that's not it. Okay, I'm going to have to do it the other way. Sorry about that, folks. What am I doing today? Is that right? Oh, man. I know I uploaded it. Oh, you know what? I didn't label it. No wonder. That's what happened. See, that's why it's important to label these immediately. And now, having done that, it should be very easy at this point. Okay. All right. I've been doing good, though, you guys, right? I have been doing good. I have been able to find everything. Okay. Here we go. Okay, maybe I'll turn that down a bit so you guys cannot hear what they're saying. But they do want her out of there. Yeah, okay. They are ejecting her from this place. Look at her. She's kind of feisty, isn't she? This is a very well-known Meghan hater. That is a very well-known Meghan hater. Katie Hopkins. And she is as right wing as she can be. So right wing. Of course, she never has trouble finding um, access to television. You know, it's amazing that people like this person and um, Jeremy Clarkson, they never have to worry about finding a job. They never have to worry about finding a job. Wow, she's mean, isn't she? She is mean, you guys. Look at there. She says Meghan is the biggest hypocrite there is. She's a no one. Look at her face. Look at how angry she is. Look at how triggered she is when she speaks about Meghan. Someone she's never met and certainly is not guilty of anything. Look at there. Donald Trump thanks respected columnist Katie Hopkins for her support on Muslim ban remarks. She was backed him on the Muslim ban after policy proposal to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. sparked a global backlash. You guys, that was one of the worst things ever from that man, and he's done a lot. Could you imagine you're on your way to a funeral? You want to go to your brother's wedding. You have whatever uh, lined up. You maybe you want to visit your parents or your parents are coming to see you. And all of a sudden, because of a capricious whim of Donald Trump, now all of a sudden you cannot go to the United States. There's a ban. And it was for select Muslim countries or predominantly Muslim countries, except for who? Saudi Arabia. You know, the ones that he does business with. That was the exception. But everybody else was banned. That was horrible. And Katie Hopkins, oh, that was like sweet nectar to her. That was like sweet nectar to her. I'll never forget when I saw this guy at the airport in tears. Um, because he, I believe it was his brother or someone was coming to see him. And he's like, well, what have we done? We pay our taxes. We're good people. Why is this happening? And it's you know what? It's not even so much. Um, well, actually, that is still bad, but that's not the only bad part. The other bad part is that so many Americans said absolutely nothing. So many Americans did not seem to care. People should have been outraged with all the planning that it takes to go abroad like that. And that's the person she supports? Whatever they called her at the bar, I'm sure they had their reasons. And of course, she likes to fancy herself a comedian. Yes, she likes to fancy herself a comedian. Here's Meghan on the cover of The Cut. Here's Katie Hopkins doing a parody of Meghan on the cover of The Cut. Good Lord. I should have warned you, shouldn't I? Oh, I feel sorry. I apologize. I should have warned you. Some of you all might be eating breakfast or something like that. I do apologize. But yeah, this is the face that she presented to the world. I suppose she thought this was going to be some big viral moment. Yeah, I suppose this was going to be a big viral moment. It wasn't. It wasn't. I'm pretty sure it reached about at least, I don't know, 10 or 12 people, but not so much. But that's Katie Hopkins. Ugh. 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 Oh no. Might I suggest a filter? Do you guys remember that line from the movie Tootsie when Dustin Hoffman got in drag and he went to audition for a job on a soap opera? And the director says, I'd like to make her look a little bit more attractive. How far can you pull back camera to? How do you feel about Cleveland? uh, you know what? I want to make Katie look a little more attractive. So I am going to pull my camera. I'm not going to try Cleveland. I'm going to try St. Louis. Yeah, I think I'm going to pull my camera back to St. Louis. And then maybe, just maybe, that'll make her look a little bit more attractive. Maybe if I do that, I will stop seeing Jimmy Durante, right? If you know, you know. Maybe if I pull the camera back to, um, oh, I don't know, Phoenix, Arizona, maybe I won't see Jimmy Durante anymore. But until I do that, I keep seeing Jimmy Durante. Do you guys see him? Please tell me you see it too. Jimmy Durante. Oh man. Look, I can prove it. I will share and the image of him and tell me you don't see Jimmy Durante because I see him. As a matter of fact, I cannot unsee him. You see what I mean? I cannot unsee him. I mean, I close my eyes and I still see Jimmy Durante. Jimmy flipping Durante. I still see him. I know. I know, right? I still see him. Oh, well. Yeah, no wonder every time I see her, I think of that song Deja Vu. I've been here before. I've been here before. Mhm. Yep, that solves that one. Anyway, you guys, that is Katie Hopkins, who was run out of a pub, and I'm sure it was well deserved. Now, I couldn't wait to get to this part, you guys. Now, I'm going to try to breeze through this as best I can. This is the author that wrote that book comparing Meghan and her sister in law. You may find parts of this a bit triggering, but we'll get through it and we're going to discuss it. Hmm. Okay. Wait, is this the one that has that? Yeah, there he is right there. Okay. God, I don't like that guy. So, fair warning, you may find this a bit triggering, but here goes.
I think it is. Ah, yes.
Uh oh. That's not that. That's Anne. How did I get Anne? I'm looking at the wrong video. Mm. Anne, are you in my phone? What are you doing in my phone? Okay.
But you know, I think I grab that popcorn.
It will certainly not be in Airbnb where they stay, but of course it won't be Frogmore Cottage either because they've vacated there.
Yeah,
so
it's a dump.
It's a
dump.
It's a big question. Where are they going to be staying? This story broke on an Australian media outlet. I got a briefing, unusually actually, saying yes, they are coming, and Meghan is going to come with the children. And this is a reconciliation that has been a long time in the pipeline. Don't forget, a couple of summers ago we had Charles's aides meeting with Harry's aides. Then we had Charles and Harry meeting. So this does feel like the next step. I mean, I'm just surprised that Meghan is coming over. I mean, Mark, what do you think?
Well, it's without doubt and by an order of magnitude the biggest royal story of.
You guys, I'm going to speed it up when I'm not feeling what they're saying. But yeah, it's certain points that I want to get to, and I just didn't have time to chop it up. So here we go.
Yeah, and I think it's a bombshell, and I think it's surprised royal journalists and the public. We know the mood music is that things are thawing in the relationship between the Sussexes and the king and the firm. We know that we've had the Clarence House face-to-face last September. So clearly the wheels slowly in motion, but we didn't expect it to happen this summer. I thought that the obvious moment would be Invictus next year in Birmingham, which, as we know, is a huge deal for Harry. At that point, you might not be surprised to see Meghan and the kids. But to happen this July is significant. And it doesn't have to happen because this countdown to Invictus is a nothing burger. It's a non-event.
What do you think happened there? Is Meghan excited?
Okay, truth is, I really want to get to the author. I want to get to this lady. So bear with me.
It's about this trip. Is she being dragged by Harry, who's desperate to reconciliation with his father? What's going on?
Well, I think the fact that it's happening after all the things that Meghan has said about the UK and about the royal family, and the fact that it's happening for this non-event of the one-year countdown, which Harry could easily have done on Zoom from Montecito, smacks of desperation. And I think that what this move reveals is the total failure of the Sussex brand in the United States. The money is drying up. The gigs are just not there. There's a golden handcuffs deal with Netflix, which is a first look agreement. So there's a few million in it, but it's effectively Harry and Meghan can pitch ideas to which most likely Netflix will say, those are horrible ideas, thanks, but no thanks. We know that Harry's speaking engagements have dried up, and he used to get $1 million a speech, now it's 50K. The As Ever brand is struggling. That jam or spread or whatever you want to call it ain't selling. So I think that this move, so prematurely, a year ahead of Invictus, reveals that I think Meghan and Harry are really worried, in particular Meghan, who, my sources tell me sees herself as the breadwinner. And the received wisdom is that they get back to the UK, recalibrate their royal credentials, and hopefully it boosts their brand.
What are you thinking, Catherine? You're looking a bit dubious there. Now, you've written about Meghan.
Okay, finally, you guys, we're getting to the author. I do apologize. I just didn't know where that ended. But yeah, we are getting to the author. So let's see what she has to say. And I'm going to speak about this thing about them needing to recharge their credentials. There is no way that Harry and Meghan's credentials are in jeopardy since they won't stop talking about them. If everything from funerals to weddings, the opening of a new pub, everything leads to Harry and Meghan. So nobody forgets their connection to the British royal family. We're not allowed to forget their connection to the British royal family. This is why I say they may as well keep the titles, because they will never, ever leave them alone. It's just too interesting to let it go. It makes too much money. It brings too much engagement. And I don't see a day in the foreseeable future where they are not going to start and finish the day with what Harry and Meghan are up to next. We have seen months where they had no sight of Meghan, and everything that they could not see, they made it up. They made it up. And they were not embarrassed to make up stuff, to fill in blanks, to recycle old stories. It's almost hard to remember that because it seemed like it was a lifetime ago, but it wasn't that long ago. We didn't see Meghan. We didn't know where she was. They didn't know. And so they just made up stuff.
In your book, and how the narrative is played out. You know, she's kind of been rather cast as the villain in the whole Megxit scenario. What's your take on this new development?
Well, I mean, one of the questions I ask in the book is not, you know, it's not, nobody needs to like her, but quite why people feel the need to actually hate her is one of the questions in the book that I go into. But in terms of that scenario, I don't think that it's untrue that they have been struggling to get their business ventures to work, you know, be it the media ones or their foundation or any of the structures. You know, those were all things that were built with no planning whatsoever, because by nature of the way they left here, they just plunged into that life over there and tried to construct something that would work. And it looked like for a brief moment Netflix might fly, because obviously that first series they did, which was of course about royal life and their experience, did do well. But there's a kind of circularity to these arguments, and the one of the relevant points about the sort of negativity towards her is that in order to have successful lifestyle brands, in order to be cast as the smiling host of a TV series and have people tune in, you really do need people to like you. And while she does have, or they do have, their kind of online fans, that there is no way that relentless sort of criticism of them does not create a feedback that affects them. But also, what you're not saying here is that there is a problem for the royal family now, which is the huge demographic gap that they have. When I wrote my biography of Charles before he was king, it came out in 2015, there were 18 senior working royals, you know, and the conversation then was all about slimming down the monarchy, about there being too many. We're now in a situation where they can barely fill a balcony.
We've discussed this before.
Now, you guys, let me just tell you, that is about the most that you are going to hear her speak uninterrupted. I repeat, that is about the most that you're going to get of her uninterrupted, because now they are going to unleash the hounds of hell, and they're going to keep cutting her off, and they're going to keep interrupting her. And I said it, I don't know how many times. Harry and Meghan have nothing to be ashamed of. During the height of the global pandemic, at a time when their finances were disrupted, not to mention the loss of security, royal protection, within a year's time, They had a contract with Netflix. They had a contract with Spotify. They purchased a mansion. They started a foundation. And they started a media company. All of those things they did in spite of the upheaval that was launched at them through no fault of their own by a bitter, nasty, jealous brother, by a mumbling, muted sister-in-law, and of course, a father who may or may not have any kind of compassion for them whatsoever. You know, the one who cut off their money and their security, the one who went and reneged on the Sandringham Summit, that guy. So I repeat, with everything that they had working against them, it is a miracle. It is miraculous. Okay, so let's just say this. Let me get this out in the open. It's not like they're unknown people. They're both famous in their own right and have been for a very long time. Okay? And they are prince and princess of the realm. That is true too. But they also have a machine attacking them on a daily basis to try and prevent them from having friends, from having anyone do business with them, and just about anything else you could imagine. Don't even get me started with the New York chase. I don't even want to say what I think that was. I don't even want to say what I believe that was. I may not have a channel if I do. But whatever it was or was not, they have done monumental things, all considered. All things considered, they have done extraordinary things. And they have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. And none of those people on that panel could have measured up if they found themselves in the same circumstances, royal titles and all. I don't think any of those people would ever have measured up. They would have knuckled under and they would have stayed on the public dole, just like so many other people in that family.
You know, but I think.
Oh, wait a minute. If you were saying the numbers within the royal ranks are too low and that it's too threadbare, the idea that Harry and Meghan help the project is a little bit. It's like a chicken farm. We're getting help from foxes. You know, they've wreaked extraordinary damage on the royal family.
He has all of these clever quips ready to go, armed and loaded. That's the one on the right side there. He has all of these clever responses locked and loaded, and he cannot wait to interrupt her to get it out there.
Let me ask a different question.
Go on then.
If, you know, I'm not saying that I think there's a clear path back for them into the family ranks, nor do I think necessarily that is what they would want. But what I am saying is, what do you do at this point in time where there are the oldest generation of royals is now sort of, they are significantly older. And you then have, you know,
That's a wider question. That doesn't pertain to the Sussexes who left the United Kingdom.
No,
it doesn't pertain to the Sussexes who left the United Kingdom. You see how whatever she says, he interrupts, he won't let her complete her thought, and then instantly he makes it about Harry and Meghan, even though he's trying to say that it has nothing to do with them. Instantly, he jumps right into it again. I mean, without cue. there's no cue. Nobody pointed or looked at him and said, okay, your turn. He just immediately went on the attack. Now, this lady is not very aggressive like that. Of course, they couldn't have pulled that crap with Dr. Shola, but that's why Dr. Shola doesn't appear on shows anymore, because they can't do what he just did, what all of them have done.
Agreement which was brokered
You're not
by
answering
the
the
late
question,
Queen,
though.
which was to leave the United Kingdom, give up their royal duties. They're not in the frame for this conversation.
Well,
No,
there's a question
but
I'd
who
like to
is?
ask, if I could jump in, if I may,
That's a bit
because
like
I think
asking
it's
your ex-husband to do the weekly Waitrose shop.
But I'm not.
They've gone.
They're
They're out of here.
But you didn't wait for the. You didn't actually wait for the question, which is, I'm saying, who is it who you think fills that gap?
It's a
Because
different conversation. It's certainly not Harry and Meghan.
Well, the gap is a massive chasm, isn't it? Because it's
Yeah.
not Beatrice and Eugenie. Can't
Exactly.
be. Okay.
Yeah.
And it can't be George, Charlotte, and Louis just yet.
no,
The huge pressure is
Exactly.
on Princess Catherine and
Exactly.
on Prince William. One question I want to ask, I'm just going to bring Grant into the conversation here, is Joe and I were talking about this off air just before we got ready for the show. There's a real chance, if they turn up at anything even semi-official, I think that we could see the Duchess of Sussex being booed. I mean, we don't know
absolutely.
what their schedule is.
Yeah.
Catherine, you've written a book. I mean, Divide and Rule. There is so much division. She is the Marmite of the royal family. And your testimony to that, we've got two very different opinions.
Yeah.
Do you think we might see her being booed? What do you think the reception is going to be when she comes over?
I think the problem is, because of everything that's taken place, everything that's happened, there is people that literally can't stand her. I mean, I get people come up to me all the time because sometimes I'll go on other shows and I'll not support them, but I'll kind of sit on the fence, and people say, well, how can you not see the damage that they've done to the royal family? I can see the damage they've done, but at the same time, it's still members of the royal family. I know they're not working members of the royal family, but they are still members of the royal family. It's still the king's, it's his son, it's his daughter-in-law. And the thing about the king, the one thing I remember about him is he's somebody that he always sees the good in everybody. Even when they're not good, he still sees the good in people. And I've witnessed that firsthand. And he will absolutely want to fix this, because the other thing is, let's face it, he's obviously not a well man. He is obviously doing an amazing job under the circumstances, but he might also, at the back of his mind, he might be thinking, I need to fix this. I need to resolve this while I can.
And also, can we just put paid to this idea that criticism of the Sussexes, or in particular criticism of the Duchess of Sussex, a title that she's clinging on to for dear life, in spite of her disparaging remarks about the institution, that's a strange one.
Well,
to
I think
square.
that's a lot of the source of the animosity.
So she, it's awful. The gilded cage of royalty. No one asked me how I'm feeling. The whole thing is horrible. Harry and I got out. She clings on to that title. Well, that's a bit of a strange thing. But the reason why I push back on this idea of haters, well, this is the sort of weaponizing you get from the Sussexes and from Meghan. Any criticism is hatred. It's not. All it is to call out her wild double standards. So she's worried about the dangers of social media for children and young people, and she puts Archie and Lily on Instagram non-stop.
You guys do stick around, because when Graham Smith makes his appearance, I want you to think about what he's talking about right now. He's saying that Meghan is a hypocrite because of those images of Archie and Lily. But wait until Graham Smith weighs in on the Welleses and their children. So stick around for that one.
Not when it's just their birthday, but trips to Disneyland.
What I'm curious about is, like, because, I agree with you, and I'm sort of thinking about what you're saying about this large, desperate attempt to find some commercial value in coming back to the UK. But there is a lot of animosity towards the Sussexes. There is this animosity about branding an entire nation of people racist, and all of those things. So what possible commercial salvage have they got here?
Well, I think so. To actually agree with Catherine, William, Catherine, Charles, Camilla, and Harry and Meghan are all members of the same family. And that is a very fair point. And they're all human beings. And I think that Harry and Meghan were sincere in their desire for a private, simpler life in the United States. I don't think it's panned out that way. But I think that they're coming back here. I think that there will be booing. I think the booing's inappropriate, by the way. I think that's rude and very un-British. But I don't think they'll get the warm reception. And I just think ultimately you reap what you sow.
It's not very British because of how Catherine and the children and Willie and all the rest of them have been affected by the booing. That's why it is very un-British, because the entire family is being impacted by it. So now all of a sudden, it's just not the very British thing to do. Isn't that interesting? And given the ferocious attitude that he has about Meghan, I would almost believe him, but just consider everything that just came out of his mouth before we got to that point.
I mean, ironically, Catherine, you've been defending Meghan here, but you've had problems about being told that you know, for attacking her. But you've pleaded in your book for us to take a different, sort of like more measured view of all the royal women.
That's why I'm laughing, because what happens, and in a funny way, we're demonstrating the mechanism here of the way polarization works, is that because you have this very strong line on Meghan here, I end up being put in a position of appearing to defend Meghan, whereas that's what I'm actually saying is I do think that you're demonstrating that there is a level of animosity that is, you can call it hatred, you can call it animosity. There is a very strong feeling against Meghan, which plays
based
out
upon her actions.
You see there? He could not hold it. He could not let her complete her thought based upon her actions. It is unintelligent for anyone to sit on that stage, whether you like her or you don't like her. It shows a lack of intelligence or a lack of integrity if you are going to perpetuate this notion that Meghan asked for these things, that Meghan is all of these terrible things, that Meghan is worse than the person who is sitting in prison, you know, the nurse, the one that was going around the hospital doing that stuff, or even Harry's uncle. She's worse than Harry's uncle? Because if you listen to those people, like, what is his name? Mark Dolan. If you listen to those people, then surely she must have done something. All of this would be unnecessary if they just stop talking about her. And we know they're not going to do it. There is no way that there would be so much attention if they were to stop. But they won't do it. And so we have to go through this pretense that Meghan has done something so terrible that it warrants an entire hour here, another hour there, a whole panel of people from one royal report to the next. It takes all of those people to sort it out, because she's done something so terrible. What did she do? She made some jam and put it on the website. What did she do? Oh, she decided, well, I'm going to just add some matches to it. What did she do? Oh, I'm going to put some honey in a jar and sell it. What'd she do? She took her kids to Disneyland. All of those things are probably warrants capital punishment, I think.
Upon reporting of her actions and her actions, but the two things are not always aligned. And that's something I explore in the book. You point out in
I'm going to go back just a little bit just to make sure that we don't miss that point.
But the two things are not always aligned. You're demonstrating that there is a level of animosity that is, you can call it hatred, you can call it animosity. There is a very strong feeling against Meghan, which plays
Based
out
upon her actions.
Based upon reporting of her actions and her actions, but the two things are not always aligned. And that's something I explore in the book. You point out inconsistencies. There are all sorts of things you can find to criticize her for. But
she wrote to the boss of ITV to get Piers Morgan fired for saying he didn't believe a word she said in the Oprah interview, an interview which has since been debunked by...
Okay, so he got the talking point in about the Oprah Winfrey interview. Remember, they stayed on that for the longest. Oh, all of these things were debunked. And of course, if you didn't know anything about Harry and Meghan, if you didn't know anything about the royal family, right now, you would be forgiven if you did not know that Harry sat on patio, that they both sat on the terrace or the patio together and told their story. Because anytime they go back and talk about Oprah, Harry's not even there. Harry's not even there. It's only Meghan. They only tell it from the perspective of Meghan said this, Meghan said that. Whatever those 17 things are, which of course they couldn't possibly name them themselves, but whatever those 17 things are, they are only saying that Meghan was the culprit. Let them tell it. Harry wasn't even there. Or Harry sat there for the entirety of the interview with his mouth shut, afraid that Meghan would clobber him or something. But she's trying to say to him right now that the hatred is unhinged. And before she can make her point, he interrupts and says, based on her action, he doesn't want her to complete her thought. That's why I said at the beginning, when they first talked to her, that is the most that you're going to get out of her. The rest of what she has to say is going to be continuously interrupted. Okay.
For example, the Archbishop of Canterbury.
An interview which caused a rift, not just within the royal family, but actually internationally. Britain was accused, not just the royals, Britain was accused of being a little racist island.
Yeah, so are you saying that the issue is the reporting of that, or can she be accountable for that interview and what she said in that interview?
But again, we're talking about, yes, it was a very high-profile interview. Yes, it had a lot of, knock-on effects and a lot of resonances. Even if you don't believe a word that she said in it, and I think, as with many things that she does, there was a very big mixture of truth in there, as well as inconsistency.
Varied recollections.
Recollections may vary, indeed. None of that actually justifies the strength of feeling against her. The bullying allegations are by far the most serious allegations against her, which I do go through in the book. Even in that case, it doesn't put her on a par with a sort of the public enemy number one, which is where she's ended up. And what I'm talking about here, this isn't a defense of Meghan. This is me saying, we allow ourselves to hate on people so easily in public life. And when you look at
particularly women,
and women in particular, and when you look at the mechanics of it online, and you look at the people and the, in fact, machinery leaping on that, quite often state-sponsored disinformation campaigns, the involvement of China and Russia and Iran, you just think, this is not good for the world. This is not good for women. This is not good for democracy.
It's not great for the royal family either, is it?
The royal family, one of the main functions of the monarchy is to unify.
Yes, we've said that, haven't we, before?
You know,
and at
and-
the heart of this
Oh, you know what? I was about to drop a F-bomb. Please let this woman finish talking. Please let her finish talking. They are so wound up and ready to pounce. Like they're going to explode if they don't get it out.
royal family that we look up to on the balcony. There is fraction
I hate
and
to
division.
interrupt this cozy consensus, but I consider Meghan Markle to be a dangerous figure who is capable of causing much more damage to the institution of the monarchy and to the country because she's a proven liar. She's a hypocrite. She's a fake. She's a fraud. And I think that we're entitled to call out her actions and her remarks.
I don't think that there's anyone.
And there's no hatred there. I can give you full examples of why I've come to that view. And
all of that, and you have the nerves to say that there is no hatred there. I can tell you why I have come to those views. As an African American who lives in a country that was founded by the British, right? I have it on good authority that if there is anything that has been exported at scale from the United Kingdom, it was not textiles, it was not porcelain, it certainly wasn't tea, it was racism. Racism that has been imported or exported, if you will, to countries near and far, to colonies all over the world. They have taken that and spread the gospel as far as it could possibly go. So much so that even people within the same country that are the same race hate each other based on some ridiculous notion that those people over there are a better breed than these people over here. I mean, it's like you're raising dogs or horses. That is something that has been exported. I don't know if it was the East India Company. I don't know if it was through the Church of England. I don't know where it came from, but it is still relevant today. So many countries have laws on the books that come directly from the Palace of Westminster. So it's kind of hard to make the case that, oh, this is not a racist country. The United States is a racist country. I can tell you right now, it's a very racist country. But does that mean that everyone is a racist? No. So why would you believe that someone pointing out racism, let's say Harry and Meghan, they experienced racism, although they never said the word racism or racist. They experienced racism, right? And it just so happens where it happened was with Harry's family in the United Kingdom. And so they brought it up, which is their right to do. But on this podcast, they are telling the world that Harry and Meghan accused the United Kingdom of being a racist island. Is that guilt? Is that projection? Where does that come from? Where does that come from? I've been to the United Kingdom. I could never say most of the people there are racist. I don't believe that. Are there some bad apples? Sure. But I don't believe that the majority of the people in the United Kingdom are racist. It would be illogical. So it should be at equal measure. It's illogical to say that Harry and Meghan said the whole country was racist. But with her full chest, Katie Nichols just blurted out that they accused us of being a racist island. Or did you all not hear that? Because I heard it loud and clear. And because Meghan was accused of saying something that she did not say, then for that reason, she deserves to be condemned. Because at a very vulnerable time in her life, people were obsessed with her baby's skin color. Very powerful people was obsessed with her child's skin color, and it scared the shit out of her. I believe a lot of people in that position would feel likewise. Very deep conversation and very disingenuous.
And millions of others have too, including the establishment in the United States with late night talk show hosts now openly mocking the couple because they know what the rest of us know.
So, Mark, you would say that actually they are, both of them, and that idea that, which an idea I discount, I don't think they will ever come back to Britain, and I don't think they will ever represent the royal family in a working capacity. It simply won't happen. But you clearly see them as dangerous. Grant, I want to ask you, when it comes to William and Harry, and one suspects William might have some empathy towards that idea of Harry and Meghan being dangerous, particularly when they're down and out on their luck in Hollywood and when they're low on cash. William's not stupid. He will know there's another reason to them wanting to come back here other than just wanting to make amends with the king. What about the state of play in terms of that relationship? And to Catherine's point, that fraction and discord at the heart of the monarchy and potentially under William's reign is a problem.
It is. I think William will be concerned. I think he'll be really concerned about this. The other thing that was put to me was, while they're here, is it possible to see Meghan doing some TV opportunities, potentially, which I think is unlikely. But I think William's going to be watching them, you know, very closely to see what they do while they're here, how they behave. I doubt they're going to get, I mean, there's also these rumours that they might possibly get together, they might get a family dinner or something.
Well, I'm just thinking as well, what you're talking about, we haven't discussed the Princess of Wales. And I think that it'll be very interesting in the context of your book, what happens with any perceived, observed dynamics between Catherine and Meghan. Will they studiously avoid each other? Will the media be absolutely hawking to see whether there's any...
Okay, you guys, I'm trying not to drop the F-bomb, but where on God's green earth would they encounter each other? Where would they encounter each other? Where? This is nothing to do with William and Kate. This is about Charles and his grandkids. They are the ones that are making it about Mumbles. So where would they even run into each other? How would that work out? There's no service at Westminster Abbey. They're not going to any events where they would run into each other. There are, 66 million people in the United Kingdom? Where would they run into each other? At Tesco's Finest? At Marks and Spencer's? John Lewis? Audi's? Where do they run into each other? Oh, Lord. I told you guys. I told you.
Sort of like, friendship between them, any building of bridges.
But I mean, again, I find myself constantly being asked about the relationship between those women, what went wrong with the friendship. There really never was a friendship between them.
Yeah. They were too different, weren't they?
There never would have been.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's also what I'm talking about. You have a whole series of kind of slightly misleading narratives, and you're getting exercised about the fact that Meghan isn't always consistent. But my God, the media is consistently inconsistent here too. It creates situations in order.
Okay. Now you see there, she says the media is consistently inconsistent. And what happens? Here comes bag under the eye, Katie Nichols. Here comes Katie Nichols to run block. Here comes Katie Nichols to run block. As soon as she says the media is consistently inconsistent, here comes Katie Nichols. Bags under the eyes and all.
Order then to get upset about
Put
things.
quite a lot of pressure on them in the beginning. There was almost
Exactly.
an expectation that just because they were both going out, or in Kate's case, Catherine's case, married to Prince William, that there'd be this wonderful sisterhood between the two of them, you know, and that we'd have Diana and Fergie all over again, and that sort of almost our projection, the media's projection onto what we want it to be, rather than the actuality, which is that these are two very different women. It would have been wonderful if they had gotten on like a house on fire, but sadly, that wasn't to be the case.
I think the other thing is for both of them, from my observation, was Catherine had a lot longer, if you want, I want to say apprenticeship. She had a lot longer to kind of get used to how it worked, the system. From what I understand, Meghan went in and was confused. She didn't really understand it. She didn't understand the rules, the protocols, the etiquette. And she made a couple of decisions in those early days where she was told, you can't do that. There's things you have to do. Where, because of Catherine's background and because of how long she was in the family and obviously dating Prince William, she got used to that way of life.
Let me just say this. Some of those things that they said that Meghan can't do, what are they doing right now? They're taking selfies, they're hugging people, wearing very untraditional outfits to some of these events. What exactly are the things that they told Meghan she can't do? This pretense that it is so difficult to be a duchess, that it is such a strain to be a duchess. How many years did Kate show us her bloomers? How many times have we seen Kate's thongs? How many times have we seen that? Was that Kate following the rules? When Kate went out with the Queen wearing that too short skirt and stepping out of the back of the state Bentley, looking like she just left a hooker convention, was that following the rules? Huh? Looking like some kind of 1960s flight attendant for Playboy Airlines? Was that following the rules? Because I can find many a misstep, tons of them. And you don't even have to go back that far.
Understood what was expected of her.
I mean, there is a sort of, I think, an area where a landing point for this conversation, because you are right, it can manifest as hatred for Meghan. And that's also really bad. Because
are you effing kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? After everything that has come out of his mouth, now he wants to walk it back. Did you hear that? Now he's trying to walk it back.
that's toxic.
Can't do that. There's things you have to do. Where, because of Catherine's background and because of how long she was in the family and obviously dating Prince William, she got used to that way of life. She understood what was expected of her.
I mean, there is a sort of, I think, an area where a landing point for this conversation, because you are right, it can manifest as hatred for Meghan. And that's also really bad, because that's toxic. Meghan is a human being. She's got amazing get up and go. She's a remarkably driven person. She's now one of the most famous people on the planet. She's highly accomplished. I mean, I think her superpower is getting what she wants, and that is a remarkable thing. Look at her life story. It's quite something. But I think that the landing point, I think, is not to focus on Meghan and to hate on Meghan. I think it's the couple. I think it's Harry and Meghan with their pooled ambitions and the shared goals that they profess to have when they left the UK, and then the hypocrisy that they as a couple have demonstrated.
How about the hypocrisy of 24 hours, 7 days a week of leaking and briefing and misleading from the tabloid media, from Kensington Palace, from Clarence House? Are we going to talk about that? They put all of the ownership on Harry and Meghan and make absolutely no room at all for the misdeeds committed by the British tabloid media. A tabloid media that has literally cost people their lives and their livelihoods. It's a very serious thing when the tabloids come after you. There are some people who do not survive it.
And I think that perhaps you're right. There is maybe a disproportionate focus on Meghan, and there's the small matter of her husband, who is the king's son and is the man who left his family, left his country, and he probably doesn't get enough, of the probing that Meghan does.
Well,
do you hear the words that are coming out of his mouth? Do you hear the words that he's coming out of his mouth after all of that vitriol, after all of the bile that he spewed out of his mouth? Uninterrupted, talking over the guests on the panel. Now, all of a sudden, well,
They were, of course, the notable absentees at Truthing, because, of course, they lost their place on that balcony. They lost that place when they stood.
Why are we talking about trooping? Trooping hasn't been a thing for, 6 years now? Why are we talking about trooping? Where does trooping come into this? We don't expect them to be at trooping. You didn't want Beatrice and Eugenie up there. There's a lot of people you didn't want up there that could have been up there. So this is just another opportunity to dump on Meghan, and Harry. Oh, he's lost his place up there. Well, you said no half in, no half out. It appears to me that Harry has accepted that and moved on. But guess what? They're not moving on, because now she's making it the topic of conversation, something that we haven't heard in God knows how long. Now, all of a sudden, it's relevant because I guess with the list of things that they needed to discuss, that is obviously one of them. Maybe there's a producer in her ear or something like that. I don't know.
Stood down as working royals. And to your point earlier, Catherine, I mean, what a slimmed down monarchy it looks. The future there is very much all about the Wales family and that immediate line of succession. Now, it was the first time that we saw Princess Catherine on the dais, right alongside, shoulder by shoulder with the King and the Queen. We had Prince William on horseback, along with the Princess Royal and Prince Edward. And of course, we had carriages galore. The Queen looking beautiful there in her Fiona Clare on.
Look at how her voice changed. Look at how relaxed her diaphragm is. And of course, we had carriages galore. And we had Catherine at the right of the King, and
the King taking the salute, and the children, the Wales children in carriages in that procession. We sort of watched them grow up. And at this point, I'd love to bring in Graham Smith. He is CEO of Republic, the group behind those protests.
Now listen, you guys, Graham Smith is about to lay into them, okay? Graham Smith is about to lay into them. So stick around for that. Also, let me see. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for the PayPal. You know who you are. I really, really do appreciate that. Oh, you say you love the podcast? Thank you so much. Love you. Thank you so much for your contribution. Okay, on to Graham Smith.
Protests at Trooping the Colour last weekend, because there were protests, Graham, weren't there? I think, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you on. Protests most notable, actually, when the children were in the carriages being processed through, the crowds cheering, but of course, Republic, with a presence that I think we've become quite accustomed to now, appearing to jeer and shout at the children, which I think has been something of a backlash against Republic, a bit of an own goal, I'd say, for the monarchy, and got you one withering look from the Princess of Wales. My goodness, I wouldn't have wanted to be on the receiving end of that stare.
And it got you one withering look from the Duchess. Who gives? Oh my God, you guys, listen, I don't usually swear, but just let me have this one. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Who cares that there was a withering stare from what's her broad? Who cares? And what is that going to do? There was a stare. That's all she could do is stare. God knows she can't talk.
Off.
Well, we couldn't see it, to be honest, and we couldn't see them either. I mean, we were back behind the crowd. Hasn't been much of a backlash. I know some papers have tried to make it an issue, but I mean, we weren't booing the children. We were booing, or some people in the protest were booing the royals because they all go past, within reasonably close proximity to each other. And the point of the protest, like any protest, is to get noticed and to make sure that, the message is there that this is not a country of, which is wholly behind the monarchy, that there are obviously crowds that will go out and see it, but there are, increasing numbers of people that oppose it.
But shouts of "not our king" at those young children in the carriages who were there because the public wanted to see them?
I was just listening to the conversation before where there was criticism of Harry for putting their kids on social media. Now, I'm pretty sure William has made similar comments about social media. They troop their kids out all the time. Now, I personally don't think that is appropriate. I think they should be leaving the children at home. I know that some of the European royal families don't involve their children until they turn 18. You'll see that, if anybody tries to, do you know how many children Keir Starmer has, what they look like, what their names are? Most politicians these days also leave their children at home and keep them out of the press. The royals troop them out as part of their PR.
Yes, but as we're also discussing on the show, Graham, the royals have a very different job to politicians. That line of succession, that dynasty is absolutely fundamental to the institution.
It's fundamental to them. I mean, it's exploiting the children for their PR. But I mean, there's no reason why they can't leave them at home and let them come out when they're 18, when they can decide what they wish to do. And we've seen
I would argue with you, the children look very comfortable in those carriages. I've been there at many trooping. I've seen them. They're happy to wave. What they're not happy to have is protesters shouting at them, "Not our king," when in fact that's their grandfather.
Well, I mean, this is a very silly conversation. I mean, it's not about the children, it's about the monarchy. This is a corrupt and secretive institution. We had a lot of hypocrisy. The word hypocrisy has been thrown around for the last 10, 15 minutes about Harry and Meghan. But I mean, the royals are hypocrites. They don't pay tax. They interfere in the
They do pay tax. They do pay tax, Graham. They do pay tax, and we'll be analysing the finances in a matter of weeks.
They pay some tax. They dodge huge tax bills, and as we know, they get 11 of them, most of whom and no one ever sees, get free homes at our expense. They cost well over £500 million a year.
Well, hang on a minute. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they are paying rent on their houses. Prince William and Princess Catherine both pay the full rent on their house in Windsor.
Some of them, 11 of those royals get free homes in Kensington Palace and St James's Palace, buildings which belong to the public and which should be museums open to the public. But, as I said, they cost well over £500 million. Now, this is an institution which is being accused by historians of being more secretive than CIA and MI5. They have serious questions to answer about what Andrew knew and when. And it is opposed for all sorts of reasons by about a third of the country, which is a significant increase on sort of 10, 15 years ago. And some polling is putting support for the monarchy below 50%.
Well,
so, obviously it's going to be opposed. This is a state institution that has opposition, and that opposition is going to turn up and make itself known.
Well, I think the problem Republic has, and I have to say, Graham, when I was covering the King's First trooping, you had a massive presence there. I remember reporting for NBC at the time and being quite surprised by how many Republican protesters there were, but I thought there were fewer numbers of you at this year's ceremony.
I don't know which trooping.
The trooping the ceremony this year, I saw fewer protesters.
Which one were you saying where there's massive numbers? I mean, it's a similar number, but I mean, the point is, part of the problem we have is that the police are abusing their power to put conditions on us, and that is putting some people off turning up at these protests. So that's something else we have to tackle. So they put conditions based on a barefaced lie that they thought there was going to be some kind of problem if they didn't do that. So that does put people off coming. But it wasn't particularly different to previous years. It's only the third Trooping the Colour we've protested at.
Speaking of Trooping the Colour, Graham, you have mentioned that even if you got your way and we did abolish the monarchy, that you would be happy to keep ceremonies like Trooping the Colour keep going. I don't really understand. So, like, why would you use that then to be the place of your protest, and why would you want it to still carry on?
Well, at the moment, it is a moment which is designed to promote the monarchy and to give the impression that the monarchy is universally loved, to give the impression that it has this, innate connection with our military. Charles, William, Edward, and Anne all wear uniforms, ranks, and medals which they haven't earned and aren't qualified for. We call people like that Walter Mitties. They are not qualified for those uniforms and ranks and medals, and they use the military to suggest that they are embedded, as a permanent feature of our state, and they shouldn't be doing that without being challenged.
Graham, I want to ask a question. It's probably one you've been asked many times before. Do you ever worry about the alternative of not having the royal family? The reason I say that is I also give talks on cruise ships about our royal family. And I've had people that describe themselves as Republicans come up to me and they say what worries them is they don't agree with the royal family, but at the same time, they worry about the alternative. Because you look at the state of politics just now in the country, and they say that they're worried about what the future for our country would be without that continuity of having, a head of state as a member of the royal family. Does that even a little bit sometimes concern you about the alternative? Say we did become a Republican country, and we did have a president. Would that not concern you looking at the state of politics just now, if I can ask that?
No, if you're concerned about the state of politics now, that's happening now with our monarchy. Now, the monarchy doesn't do anything to help that. It doesn't do anything to protect us. Our constitution is pretty poor. And if we did have a radical, far right or far left government that didn't concern itself with the rights of the public or the concerns of democracy, we could be in very serious trouble. We could go down the Hungarian route incredibly quickly because there are so few checks and balances and the monarchy has no protection. Now, we don't argue for a United States-style presidency or even a French-style presidency. We argue for something similar to what they have in Ireland, for example, or Finland, or Austria, or Germany, or Iceland. It is a parliamentary system, but it's made democratic. So we elect people to do a particular role, and we can remove them if they don't do that role properly. But the monarchy doesn't protect us. It doesn't provide continuity other than unity of the monarchy. It doesn't do anything else for us.
Well, Graham, thank you so much. It's great to have you on. We appreciate it. We welcome the debate, and always in a very respectful environment. Well, I'd just like to throw, any thoughts on that?
The question that Grant asked is something I actually address in the book, because there has always been a sense, particularly with the wartime history of monarchy and then Elizabeth's reign and the way this country developed, to see the monarchy as a bulwark against, in particular, fascism. And I think it's a really good question to be asking at this point in time.
Do you know what I didn't say to him was that the person in particular came up and said, I asked him about the Queen. I said, did you like our late Queen? And they said, I adore the late Queen. In fact, I showed this video and she was crying. And it made her realise how important the late Queen was to the country. Even though she's a Republican, it did make her realise how important the late Queen was, which I thought was an interesting comment.
Well, and one of the things that is very clear, and I don't want to get too far off the topic here, but we have in this country, as in many others, democratic systems that are not keeping up, are not robust enough in the face of the kinds of changes that we're seeing with deep fakery and AI and all of those things. And so I think for me, one of the things I'd like, I think it's always good to have a good Republican movement in any, to have good opposition movements in any country, but it needs to kind of understand where we are and how dangerous this moment is.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And look, the concept of a monarchy is absolutely bonkers.
Well, it is, isn't it? If you just landed in this planet and you thought, what do you mean? You've got a head of state that's unelected and not hereditary.
Well, this is my point, Joe. So it's a crazy idea on paper. You wouldn't do it now. If you created a brand new country, you wouldn't just choose a family and then you are head of state forever. However, it's one of those eccentric ideas that a bit perhaps like the House of Lords. On paper, it's not entirely logical, but it works. And I think
Except that that's where the demographic gap comes in, and that's
Well,
where
it
the
is a problem.
relevance
What do you mean?
and that's where the relevance about the children being on show. This is an institution that can only add to itself either by marrying or reproducing, which, by the way, for people in its ranks, make that, with most people in the public eye, unless they're doing something really dodgy behind closed doors, they are allowed a private life. That question of where public interest ends is really difficult, particularly for the women.
Well, I mean, Graham went so far, didn't he, as to say that the Prince and Princess of Wales are exploiting their children. Joe, I don't think they are, because I think they're doing it on their terms.
They're showcasing the future of the monarchy is what I think.
Which they have to do.
But
it's the gig.
But it's a really difficult, and it means
it is the gig, and it's the one that Harry rejected. You know, it's like, so, and they don't have any choice at that point, do they? So,
no, but can I say, I mean, just from that point of view, if you think how weird, you know, I call it Planet Windsor, if you think how strange that life is, how opinioned you are, you can, you know, I don't find it surprising that people would want to run for it. I've run from it. I find it really surprising people would want to join it.
I suppose, like, you know, doing this job and like having covered royals for many years now, as an Australian, I've sort of like, you know, I have one foot in the Republican camp for a long time, but I've really come to respect the power of the soft diplomacy, and I've really come to understand there is a value to the royal family. It is an expensive value for the taxpayer, but actually, on the whole,
I sort of am in that camp, but I have to say that what's gone on with Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, who, of course, I was, you know, I accompanied him on his first ever trade mission to China.
Yeah, we can't wait.
But you know, that it means that I think, which is also, by the way, part of why I find it so hard to understand the levels of animosity directed to Harry and Meghan, because nothing that anyone else has done seems to me anything like as damaging to the institution. And it's the first thing that is really made, because, you know, I did see it up the institution up close. I saw all the things that Charles did as Prince of Wales. I understood the value to them, even as I was, my kind of American-born head was going, you know, what the hell? This makes no sense at all. But I think that the moment that there are such serious questions, not just around his own conduct, but around a culture of impunity that gives.
Well, I think Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is a big problem. And you're not wrong about the demographic time bomb either. I think these are all really good points. And it's going to be a challenge for William with his slimmed down project. So, you know, there are many question marks that lie ahead. And we think it's a crazy idea, but what is the alternative? Some clapped out ex-politician as president that no one's heard of, that doesn't open doors when they travel overseas. Look at King Charles's state visit to the United States. It was a diplomatic triumph. And I think to choose a family and just to say randomly, it's going to be you for generation after generation, on paper, strange, but it works.
See, I think this is the thing.
Okay. Well, that's about it. They're going to talk about the Order of the Garter, and they're going to talk a little bit about Andrew. So anyway, we're done with that. You know, this is why I say that panels like this are so dangerous, because you don't get anywhere. You don't really move forward in the least bit. You're not going to win. Your side of the argument inevitably is going to be shouted down, as evident by what we just watched or listened to. You know, this lady is not biased in the least bit. She's being very objective, and she's using good journalism to sort through these things. But the cynicism and the pessimism that comes from, I guess, the monarchists won't allow that. It doesn't allow it. The hatred, might as well just say the hatred that's coming from the monarchists. Good luck selling that book, because I based on this conversation, I couldn't imagine that very many of them would purchase the book. If it was something bashing the Sussexes, easily. But something that is trying to strive for reason and accountability, not so much. Not so much. They invited her there and they used her to project more of their nastiness, which is the same thing they did with the author that they had last week, Christopher Anderson. Same thing. Christopher Anderson was probably a little stronger in his defense, but just the same, they pretty much mopped the floor with him. They have an answer for everything. There's 3-4 against 1. There is very little by way of opposition. And if they ever concede a point, it is only to try to clean up things before they sign off. So, very dangerous. It does not really help in the long run. It does not move anything forward. There's no progression, just frustration. So, that being said, I thought it was very interesting. I like a good debate, but unfortunately, this woman was not up to task. She was outnumbered, and she's also not a very forceful personality. So it was very difficult for her to even complete her comments or finish her thoughts. And it's too bad because I thought she had a lot to say, but it wasn't meant to be. There was only one inevitable outcome for this conversation, and that was to go through all the talking points that they have selected before she even sat in the chair. And I believe they were very successful. I mean, they talked about things like, what was it? The balcony of all things. They even managed to throw the balcony in there. Who saw that coming? Oh, well. I think I'm done with Vanessa. I don't think I have anything else to add to that conversation. So I am going to skip Vanessa. I've already been on here for 2.5 hours. I might talk about her tomorrow. Okay. Hey, Hazel Jones. All right. So we're going to finish with the Obamas. Sasha and Malia looked absolutely chic and gorgeous. They looked very chic and gorgeous. And I guess wide belts are back. But yes, those kids have really grown up. They make me so proud. I tried to explain to someone the concept for the tower, right? And so I said, it's actually a pair of hands coming together. Well, I was wrong. It's actually 4 hands coming together, right? So maybe you see it, maybe you don't, but I'm going to try anyway. As you can see on the left side, the presidential center tower represents 4 hands coming together, right? So if you take a look at the tower, you can see a very abstract image, a silhouette of those hands coming together. Please let me know if you see it. But if not, that's okay. It's okay if you don't see it. But yeah, you can see the 4 hands coming together. Also, the building was really meant to view from the street level. If you're up high, it makes it more difficult. But down here on the street level, you can see how the building tapers in at the top. You see that? So it's like the Statue of David. Some people have wondered, why is that famous statue of David, why is his head so big? The reason why his head is so large is because you were meant to see it from the street, not up close. It was supposed originally the statue of David was supposed to go on top of the cathedral. Well, at least on one of the levels of the cathedral outside. But because the statue was so beautiful, they said, oh, no way. We don't want to put that on top of a building. It needs to be here on the street where people can adore it. So there they were, stuck with this gorgeous statue with a head that was just a little bit too big. Well, it is a bit of a optical adjustment that you're making here with the Obama Center. It is meant to view it from the street level. And so that's why the look does not work if you're up above, like with a drone, but down on the street, it's much easier to see the shape of the hands coming together. And then, of course, there are people that are saying that, well, I couldn't make out the words. Well, I don't really think it was meant for you to really view it from the street. Anyone who knows about the speech knows what it says. So it's not really necessary, but it's just taking one of Obama's speeches and literally sewing it into the fabric of the building. Right? It's literally taking the words and using it as a way to diffuse the sunlight or daylight into the building. That's it. And at nighttime, it's going to have that very interesting lantern-like effect. But other than that, it's not necessary. Although if one wanted to, you could actually read it, but you have to look at both sides at the same time. Otherwise, it won't make any sense. Okay, and then there was this. Stephen Colbert wanted to honor Barack Obama by wearing a tan suit. Now, as we have been discussing racism, does anybody know why this was a very racist thing when Obama wore that suit while he was president? Does anybody remember that? You see, this is very covert racism. This is a dog whistle of racism. It's not obvious, and it leaves room for the, like, let's say Fox News. It gives them room to deny that they were being racist. Let me explain. Pretty much the president's uniform is a navy blue suit and whatever necktie. If someone dies, then the president wears a black suit. But generally speaking, you're in a navy blue suit. If you're not in navy blue, you might get away with like a dark gray or something like that. But mostly it's navy blue. All right. So one day, Barack Hussein Obama, had the nerves to wear a tan suit on a summer day. And the conservative media lost their minds. That he disrespected the presidency, he disrespected the office. Pretty much he has, because remember, they had nothing on Obama. Not a single ounce of corruption was ever identified, ever. There were no hearings, nobody went to jail, none of that stuff. So they looked at his suit and found him wanting in his character. Presidents don't wear tan suits. Who does he think he is? How could he be so disrespectful to the office of president? Did they ask Ronald Reagan Why did he wear a tan suit? Did they ask Papa Bush? Did they ask Bill Clinton? Did they ask George Bush? How about Franklin Delano Roosevelt when he was sitting there with Churchill? Nay, not a one. None of those people were ever put on the spot for wearing a finely tailored tan suit. But when the black man showed up wearing a tan suit, all hell broke loose. You would have thought that he had kidnapped a station wagon full of nuns and then sold them to the Sandinistas. Right? You would have thought he had done the worst possible thing. But it was just a suit. A tan suit on a summer day. And for all of those other presidents, it was never a problem. But when the black president wore it, he was disrespecting the office. Who does he think he is? And by the way, might I add that he looks darn good in that suit. That is very subtle racism. And if you don't understand it, I can't explain it. I won't explain it. But generally speaking, when everything was okay up until that point, and it's okay after the fact, you have to ask yourself, well, what was it that singled him out for wearing a tan suit? What was it?
Do they think they are?
In August of 2014, Obama wore a tan suit to a White House press conference. A White House press conference. And it somehow became national news. Politicians usually stuck to the dark colors. So some called it too casual, while others didn't see the issue. It's now remembered as one of the most overblown fashion controversies in politics. I had forgot about it until Stephen Colbert wore that suit. I totally forgot about it. And of course, as they were criticizing Obama, this was the image that most people saw. Kind of hard to tear a man down when he looks that damn good, right? They tried it though. They really tried it. Anyway, you guys, that is it for tonight. If you ever wondered how the Oval Office would appear if it was completely empty, you could take a look right there, and that is what the Oval Office looks like. Right now, it's all covered in gold, but that is the empty Oval Office. Don't ask me how I got that photo, but that is the empty Oval Office. And I don't know which presidency this was, but oh gosh, it wasn't Obama. I don't know who it was. Oh, John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy. And the reason why I know it was Kennedy is because there's his rocking chair. He had spinal fusion surgery, and the only place where he really felt comfortable, where he wasn't in dire pain every day, was when he sat in his rocking chair. There were two other people in that photo, and I just couldn't. So I used a little sleight of hand and got rid of them. Yeah. I got rid of them. They shouldn't have been there in the first place. They were there to see Harry, not those other two. And I think this is the last thing. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the man in the tan suit. Back in 2016, February the 1st. Remember, election day was November, the first week of November. So, obviously, Barack Obama was president. I went and got some gasoline and put it in my vehicle for a whopping price of $19.10. I was able to get 11.3 gallons, well, 0.31. Yeah, I'm going to round it up. I was able to get over 11 gallons of gasoline because Barack Obama was president. Now, gasoline is, how much is it? About $5 a gallon? It is more than doubled. So thank you, Barack Obama, for saving the economy. But yeah, I hope we'll see those prices again someday. I hope and pray that we will see those prices again. But I look at this every so often. I'm just like, God, was that true? Was it really like $2 a gallon? Yeah, it was. And that is with that very heavy tax from the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago, I think, heavily taxed. So anyway, thank you very much, you guys. I am going to say good night. Thanks for listening. I really enjoyed tonight. How interesting it was. Oh, wait a minute. You went over there today? Wow. Okay. I saw the people out there doing the electric slide or whatever they were doing. Yep, listening to Frankie Beverly. I was like, go on, children. Yeah, and people were saying, oh, that was $850 million. I don't believe that they are aware of how much landscaping and how much infrastructure. Like, for instance, they put a branch of the Chicago Public Library. I repeat, there is a new branch of the Chicago Public Library that is part of the campus. There is a bunch of stuff there, you guys. I would compare it to building I haven't seen it in person, but I would compare it to like building a town square, minus a lot of the other shops and stuff, but just in that, you have, let's say that the museum was like the city hall, and then there's a library and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot there. It's a lot there. If this was surrounded by a neighborhood instead of next to a neighborhood, because what you can't see in the pictures is Lake Michigan is on the other side of the Lakeshore Drive, and everything is Lake Michigan. So it's in a very green space. It's not, it doesn't have other buildings anywhere around it. So anyway, very cool. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, what's that? I'm tired, but I can't see the hands. I guess it takes time. I think the beauty of the room on the top floor with the words is supposed to be a place of contemplation. Oh, yeah, that sounds right. I'll accept that one. That sounds like the best answer. Oh, David Letterman wore a tan suit. I didn't see that. Well, you know what? A lot of people wear tan suits, right? But I'm telling you, there's only one person who wore the hell out of a tan suit, and that was Barack Obama. He didn't just wear it, he wore the hell out of it. Let's see, where is he at there? I mean, look at there. Talk about GQ. Talk about GQ. And he knows he looks good too, with the hand in the pocket. He knows he looks good. I know, billions of dollars, billions of dollars, billions with a B. Yep, billions of dollars going to that family. Oh, well, thank you. Is it Yolande? Thank you very much. I am so sorry about the hands. Let me try one more time. I'm going to try just one more time. Now, remember, it is abstract. You see there? Like you see that little triangular shadow right there? Well, let's say that's the part under your thumb. So if you're holding your hand straight up, right? And you put your hands next to someone else's hands. So you got four hands together. You can kind of see the bend and the outline of the hands. Yes, it's a gray marble building. Yes, there's lettering and stained glass and such. But if you were to, I guess, put the hands together, and instead of being rounded and fleshy, it was hard and had a lot of straight lines, it would have that kind of shape. I hope that's helpful. So you're not looking for hands, you're looking for a very abstract silhouette and shape of hands coming together. Okay, does that help at all? So lots of symbolism, you guys, lots of symbolism. And I love architecture so much. I love to, sit back and read what the images are. I don't mean like read them in terms of letters, but just to identify it. And in a way, it's kind of like hieroglyphs in that some things that you would see with the Egyptian hieroglyphs, um, you'll see like a character that has like a jackal's head or a leopard or lion or something like that. Well, of course, it means something else. Oh, well, I guess we'll leave it there then. But thank you all so much for your time. And as always, thank you for watching Royal Sussex. It has been fun, fun, fun. And coming soon, members only.